let's talk real quick because it's Wednesday. We'll do a little bit of Russia, Ukraine.
Russia.
Fight for Ukraine. New world order.
Speaking of trolls, the International Business Times has a headline. Ukraine army trolls Russia with Ouija board to say stay connected to 71,800 dead soldiers.
Ooh, brutal.
This is brutal.
Oh,
brutal.
That is. They are
Ukraine.
You know what? Those Ukrainian trolls, they really know how to hurt the Russians' feelings.
Ukraine on Monday mocked Russia's Ministry of Defense, saying it will send a Ouija board to help it stay in touch with Russian soldiers who were killed in the war. Russia invaded Ukraine February 24th. Since then, Russia has lost about 71,820 soldiers, including 620 in the past day, per estimates from the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Quote, "So it's Halloween. Everyone thinks about the treats. Perhaps it's time we send an Ouija board to the Russian Ministry of Defense so they can stay connected with over 70,000 of their personnel in Ukraine," the Defense Ministry wrote in a Twitter post. And, I thought, okay, is this some blue check mark? No, this is Defense of Ukraine at Defense U, and it's got the little tag that says Ukraine Government Organization. So that is where we are in the world, folks. I mean, this is probably from the intel, those guys that used to bust bad guys like 007 who are now just stuck behind a laptop, having to monitor.
Yeah,
so all that collectively, they were able to conjure up this type of tweet, which is the new form of magic in so many ways. The Defense Ministry also made a number of other Halloween-themed posts mocking Russia's losses in the war, including a short video tutorial on turning a Russian M18 helicopter into a jack-o'-lantern, and another celebrating the Ukrainian Air Force's success in shooting down over 40 Russian missiles, quote, before their first cup of coffee. Quote, the short video tutorial from UA Army on how to turn a Russian Mi-8 into a flaming jack-o'-lantern, the Defense Ministry wrote in one post. So the trolling continues here. We don't necessarily have to watch these or break them down too much, but it says down here, on the occasion of Halloween, the Russians decided to carry out another act of missile terror, but tomorrow is All Saints' Day. Saint Javelin and Saint HIMARS will subdue the evil spirits, the post read.
Yeah. It's interesting, especially in America, where, the people putting support for Ukraine in their Twitter bio and their red and blue flags and things like that. They're the tolerant people. They're the nice people. Right. They're they're the decent people. And, I just don't think any of them are going to realize how it's kind of inhumane. I mean, look, you can make an argument for a lot of things being inhumane, but that is just especially brutal form of psychological warfare.
Well, if you're doing all that virtue signaling for Ukraine right now, and the head of the snake, or at least near the head of the snake, is making these types of social media posts, I don't know. It feels like you should be able to tell that something is not well with the whole sort of the spirit of it all. But it is also, a lot of this, the Ouija board and references to the occult, of course, the Halloween thing, but it's also in response to what Putin is doing, continuing to push this sort of religious war. And Newsweek.com had this a week ago. Putin appointed chief exorcist as Kremlin whips up satanic panic. And in here it says Vladimir Putin has been named chief exorcist by the head of the country's Orthodox Church, as the Kremlin seeks to redefine the goals of its invasion of Ukraine. And, And Alexei Pavlov, Assistant Secretary of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, is now calling for the desatanization of Ukraine, saying that there were, quote, hundreds of sects in the country where citizens have abandoned Orthodox values. Quote, I believe that with the continuation of the special military operation, it becomes more and more urgent to carry out the desatanization of Ukraine, Pavlov said, according to state-run Russian news agency TASS. Quote, using internet manipulation and psychotechnologies. Psychotechnologies. The new regime turned Ukraine from a sovereign state to a totalitarian hypersect, said Pavlov. The Russian politician added in Ukraine, quote, there are hundreds of sects sharpening for a specific goal and flock. Really getting real scientific. Pavlov says he is particularly concerned about the Church of Satan, which allegedly, quote, spread across Ukraine and, quote, is one of the officially registered religions in the U.S. Oh, the U.S. and their satanic West. Yeah. Recognizing Satanists or the Church of Satan as an official organization, which, again, it's man, the dividing lines for all this is becoming very, very uncomfortable for, I think, everybody. Yeah. I would say, especially, God-believing, God-fearing believers in the West, or at least just religious people trying to uphold American values, but then are being sort of baited into at least agreeing with some points made by Russia and carrying water for Putin, as is accused. But it's all sort of it's manipulative. The social engineering aspect of it is pretty powerful when it comes to having to take sides. Like, oh, are you for Satan now? Are you a Satanist? So anyway, very interesting.
No, he continues to make it into a sort of religious war. It's apparently effective. I don't really know. It's hard to believe anything you hear about Russia or coming out of Russia, but
yeah, of course.
The reporting on this is very interesting because it seems geared towards a Western audience.
Yeah.
Of like, isn't this ridiculous? But I wonder what the reception is like within Russia. Within Russia, that'd be interesting. There is a large Orthodox community there. But in the U.S., at least, I think it has something to do. First off, CNBC also carried this in their headline. Putin says risk of world conflict is high. Moscow officials calls for desatanization in Ukraine. The same story. But also, I've had this article here from studyfinds.org and tying it back to the elections here in the U.S. It says Americans unsure about God are fast growing force in politics and typically even more politically active than white evangelicals. And it goes through the whole thing there. And it says here just a couple highlights. In 2008, almost 8% of the entire U.S. population claimed to be atheist or agnostic, according to my analysis of data from the Cooperative Election Study, or CES, an annual study coordinated by a team at Harvard University. By 2021, that share had risen to just about 12%, but atheists and agnostics are often left-leaning in their political persuasion, and their rapid ascendance in the American religious landscape is proving much more consequential to the Democratic Party than the GOP. And then later here, there's a segment here titled Atheists and Agnostics Are More Politically Engaged Than White Evangelicals. And it basically goes over that. It's just a number of people that are identify as atheist or agnostic, much more likely to go to political rallies as opposed to, for example, 5% of white evangelicals. So, January 6th, the real minorities came out to play that day, I guess, according to some mainstream stuff. So anyway, I think that's what the reason why the media would paint Russia and continue to highlight the religious aspect of this is to maintain the herd of the God skeptics who are left leaning, who are Democrats, largely or more, as a majority, and maybe grow that pot of human souls, if you will, to count for more votes. So I don't know, just my little side note there, but I see the connection with the timing of everything, the framing, the elections, and also the religious conversation in the United States. So